Hi guys, this is Miss Wagstaff from Flint Hill Elementary, fourth grade, and welcome to language arts class today. We're going to be talking about dialogue. Let's pretend that you and I are sitting on a bench in the park and we're chatting and we're talking about anything. That is called conversation. Two people or more people talking. If you are writing and you are going to use conversation, it is called dialogue. And there are rules for how to punctuate and write dialogue when you are writing in a story or a paper or whatever. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at what is the correct way to write dialogue, and then you're going to do some practice, okay? So the exact words that a character says is called dialogue. She told us. You see what they did there? They included dialogue in that definition. What do you notice? Notice that they have quotation marks at the beginning and at the end. And because this is a statement, they have a comma at the end of the quote. This part of the sentence, guys, is called the tag. It identifies who's doing the speaking. And at the end of the tag, because it's at the end of the sentence, there is a period. Okay, so if I come up to you and I say, okay, there you go. Clean your room, said Mom. That's the dialogue, the words that she said. And this is the tag identifying who said it and how they said it. This is not dialogue. Mom told me to clean my room. All I'm doing is telling you in a conversation that my mom told me I needed to clean my room, but I did not use her exact words. This is dialogue. Clean your room, said Mom. So dialogue is punctuated differently based on what kind of sentence it is. You've studied questions, you've studied statements, you've studied exclamation or exclamatory sentences, and you know that those are all said in different ways and they are punctuated differently. It's the same thing if you're using them in dialogue, you're going to punctuate them differently. And then also, dialogue is punctuated differently if the tag is at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence. We're going to look at some sentences now where the tag is at the end. So look at these three sentences, read them to yourself, and notice carefully where the quotation marks are, what kind of punctuation is at the end of the sentence phrase, and then what punctuation is at the end of the whole dialogue, the whole phrase. I'll give you just a minute to look at those. Okay, so I'm going to point out one thing to you. If it is an exclamatory sentence, exclaimed, then you know you're going to use the exclamation mark. If the word in the tag is ask, you know that you're going to use a question mark, or if it said questioned, or you just knew it was a question mark, you're going to use a question mark inside the quotation marks and still put a period at the end of the whole entire sentence. But guys, if the dialogue is a statement, you're going to use a comma at the end of the statement and then just put one period at the end of the entire dialogue. So let's look at an example. I baked some cookies. There's your quotation mark. It's just a statement. So you've got a comma, quotation mark, and a period. You try that, please. Write this sentence on your paper and put the correct punctuation. The sentence says, put your name on your paper, said Mrs. Cook. So we know because it says said that it is just a declarative sentence, a statement. So you should have put quotation marks at the beginning, a comma after paper, and then quotation marks, said Mrs. Cook, period. Okay. I love when you bake cookies, exclamation point, quotation, exclaim, period. Now you try on this one. Copy the sentence and put the correct punctuation. Okay, you should have put quotation marks at the beginning of the D. Don't forget your lunch, exclamation mark, quotation, yelled mom, period. Now we're going to look at some sentences where the tag comes at the beginning of the sentence. When the tag comes at the beginning of the sentence, the tag identifies who is speaking and how they spoke. You will always have a comma at the end of the tag. See the commas at the end? And then you put your quotation mark and start the direct quote, the exact words the person says. But guys, because you've got a punctuation mark here, this is a sentence. So you're going to also always capitalize the first word that's in the direct quotation. See how they've got a comma, quotation mark, a capital D, a capital C, and a capital O. Let's try some. She whispered, "Don't wake the baby." Now you try. Kara said, "I will be right back." You should have put a comma after said, a quotation mark. They capitalized I, period, quotation marks. She exclaimed, comma, "Of course you can!" Exclamation mark, quotation marks, and they started with an O. Now you try. Hannah exclaimed, "I'm so excited." Okay, Hannah exclaimed, comma, quotation, "I am so excited," quotation mark, exclamation mark, quotations. Okay, so think about that. Was a lot of rules to remember. So what are some things that all dialogue must have? First of all, to make it dialogue, they got to have quotation marks. The tags are set aside from the dialogue with a comma, and then depending on the type of sentence that you have, that's the type punctuation, a question mark, exclamatory, or a period. And if your tag is at the beginning, dialogue should always have a capital letter at the beginning of the exact dialogue. So guys, here's your little assignment for you to turn into your teacher. Write at least 5 complete sentences about something that your teacher tells you often. Be sure to use dialogue. Right now, your teacher's telling you, unmute, mute, unmute, turn on your camera. So there's just some ideas, guys. Write 5 complete sentences about something that your teacher tells you often, and be sure to use dialogue. See you next time.